Hi, welcome back. Part 4 for Wednesday, July 6, 2022. If you're not already checked out the first 3 parts, do so. If you like what this channel stands for, subscribe, hit the notification bell so you know when the next video comes out. Also, share the word of God, please. Share it. I also read from the Common English version of the Bible. You can find that among other translations in the YouVersion app, which is in the App Store and Google Play, depending on the device that you use. Let's continue on with Deuteronomy chapter 23. Deuteronomy 23. Okay. No man whose testicles are crushed or whose penis is cut off can belong to the Lord's assembly. No one born of a illegitimate marriage can belong to the Lord's assembly either. Not even a 10th generation of such children can belong to the Lord's assembly. Ammonites and Moabites cannot belong to the Lord's assembly. Not even a 10th generation of such people can belong to the Lord's assembly as a rule, because they didn't help you with food or water on your journey out of Egypt, and because they hired Balaam, Beor's son from Pethor of Mesopotamia, to curse you. But the Lord your God wasn't interested in listening to Balaam. The Lord your God turned that curse into a blessing because the Lord your God loves you. So don't be concerned with their health or well-being as long as you live. Don't detest Edomites because they are your relatives. Don't detest Egyptians because you are immigrants in their land. Children born to them are permitted to belong to the Lord's assembly, starting with the 3rd generation. When you are camped in battle against your enemies, guard yourself from every possible evil. If an individual in the camp becomes polluted due to a nighttime emission, aka wet dream, by the way, he must exit the camp area and not re-enter. When the next morning or next evening arrives, he must wash with water, and when the sun sets, he can come back to the camp. The latrines must be outside the camp. He will use them there outside the camp. Carry a shovel with the rest of your gear. Once you have relieved yourself, use it to dig a hole. Then refill it, covering your excrement. Do these things because the Lord your God travels with you right in the middle of your camp, ready to save you and to hand your enemies over to you. For this reason, your camp must be holy. The Lord must not see anything indecent among you, or he will turn away from you. Don't return slaves to owners if they escape and come to you. They can stay with you in your own community or in any place they select from one of your cities. Whatever seems good to them, don't oppress them. No Israelite daughter is allowed to be a consecrated worker. Neither is any Israelite son allowed to be a consecrated worker. Consecrated worker means sex worker or prostitute, just so you know, by the way. Don't bring a female prostitute's fee or a male prostitute's payment to the Lord, your God's temple, to pay a solemn promise, because both of these things are detestable to the Lord your God. Don't charge your fellow Israelites interest whether on money, provisions, or anything one might loan. You can charge foreigners interest, but not your fellow Israelite. Do this so that the Lord your God blesses you in all your work on the land you are entering to possess. When you make a promise to the Lord your God, don't put off making good on it, because the Lord your God will certainly be expecting it from you. Delaying will make you guilty. Now, if you simply don't make any promises, you won't be guilty of anything. But whatever you say, you should be sure to make good on, exactly according to the promise you freely made to the Lord your God, because you promised it with your own mouth. If you go into your neighbor's vineyard, you can eat as many grapes as you like, but until full, but don't carry any away in a basket. If you go into your neighbor's grain field, you can pluck ears by hand, but you aren't allowed to cut off any of your neighbor's grain with a sickle. Deuteronomy chapter 23. Let's turn the page, go to the next chapter, 24. Chapter 24. Let's say a man marries a woman, but she isn't pleasing to him because he discovered something inappropriate about her. So he writes up divorce papers, hands them to her, and sends her out of his house. She leaves his house and ends up marrying someone else. But this new husband also dislikes her, writes up divorce papers, hands them to her, sends her out of his house. Or suppose the second husband dies. In this case, the first husband who originally divorced this woman is not allowed to take her back and marry her again after she has been polluted in this way, because the Lord detests that. Don't pollute the land the Lord your God is giving to you as an inheritance. A newly married man doesn't have to march in battle, neither should any related duties be placed on him. He is to live free of such responsibilities for 1 year, so that he can bring joy to his new wife. Millstones, or even just the upper millstone, must not be pawned, because that will be pawning someone's livelihood. If someone is caught kidnapping their fellow Israelite, intending to enslave the Israelite or to sell them, that kidnapper must die. Remove such evil from your community. Be on guard against outbreaks of skin disease, by traditionally leprosy, by the way, by being very careful about what you do. You must carefully do everything the Levitical priests teach you, just as I commanded them. But remember, after all, what the Lord your God did to Miriam on your departure from Egypt. When you make any type of loan to your neighbor, don't enter their house to receive the collateral. You must wait outside. The person to whom you are lending will bring the collateral to you out there. Moreover, if the person is poor, you are not allowed to sleep in their pawned coat. Instead, be certain to give the pawned coat back by sunset so they can sleep in their own coat. They will bless you, and you will be considered righteous before the Lord your God. Don't take advantage of poor, needy workers, whether they are fellow Israelites or immigrants who live in your land or city. Pay them their salary the same day before the sun sets, because they are poor and their very life depends on that pay, and so they'll cry out against you to the Lord. That will make you guilty. Parents shouldn't be executed because of what their children have done. Neither should children be executed because of what their parents have done. Each person should be executed for their own guilty sins. Don't obstruct the legal rights of an immigrant or orphan. Don't take a widow's coat as a pledge for a loan. Remember how you were a slave in Egypt, but how the Lord your God saved you from that. That's why I'm commanding you to do this thing. Whenever you are reaping the harvest of your field and you leave some grain in the field, don't go back and get it. Let it go to the immigrants, the orphans, and the widows, so that your Lord your God blesses you in all that you do. Similarly, when you beat the olives off your olive trees, don't go back over them twice. Let the leftovers go to the immigrants, the orphans, and the widows. Again, when you pick the grapes of your vineyard, don't go back, don't pick them over twice. leftovers go to the immigrants, the orphans, and the widows. Remember how you were a slave in Egypt. That's why I'm commanding you to do this thing rather. It's Deuteronomy 24. Let's see if I have time. Let's go to Deuteronomy 30. Deuteronomy chapter 30. Now, once all these things happen to you, the blessing and the curse that I'm setting before you, you must call them to mind as you sit among the various nations where your Lord your God has driven you. You must return to the Lord your God, obeying his voice in line with all that I'm commanding you right now, you and your children, with all your mind and all your being. Then the Lord your God will restore you as you were before, and will have compassion on you, gathering you up from the peoples where the Lord your God scattered you. Even if he had driven you to the far ends of heaven, the Lord your God will gather you up from there. He will take you back from there. The Lord your God will bring you home to the land that your ancestors possessed. You will possess it again, and he will do good things for you and multiply you, making you more numerous even than your ancestors. Then the Lord your God will circumcise your heart and the heart of your descendants, so that you love the Lord with all your mind and with all your being, in order that you may live. The Lord your God will put all these curses on your enemies and all those who hate you and chase you, but you will change and obey the Lord's voice and do all his commandments that I'm commanding you right now. The Lord your God will help you succeed in everything you do, in your own fertility, your livestock's offspring, and your land's produce. Everything will be great, because the Lord will once again enjoy doing good things for you, just as he enjoyed doing them for your ancestors, and because you will be obeying the Lord your God's voice, keeping his commandments and his regulations that are written in this instruction scroll, and because you will have returned to the Lord your God with all your heart and all your being. This commandment that I'm giving you right now is definitely not too difficult for you. It isn't unreachable. It isn't up in heaven somewhere, so that you have to ask, who will go up for us? Who will go up for us to heaven and get it for us, so that we can hear it and do it? Nor is it across the ocean somewhere, so that you have to ask, who will cross the ocean for us and get it for us, that we can hear it and do it? Not at all. The word is very close to you. It's in your mouth and in your heart, waiting for you to do it. Like here, today I set before your life and what's good versus death and what's wrong. If you obey the Lord your God's commandments that I'm commanding you right now, by loving the Lord your God, by walking in his ways, and by keeping his commandments, his regulations, and his case laws, then you will live and thrive, and the Lord your God will bless you in the land you are entering to possess. But if your heart turns away, you refuse to listen, and so are misled, worshiping other gods and serving them, I'm telling you right now that you will definitely die. You will not prolong your life on the fertile land that you are crossing the Jordan River to enter and possess. I will call heaven and earth as my witnesses against you right now. I have set life and death, blessing and curse before you. Now choose life, so that you and your descendants will live, by loving the Lord your God, by obeying his voice, and by clinging to him. That's how you will survive and live long on the fertile land the Lord swore to give to your ancestors, to Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. That's Deuteronomy chapter 30. Be back with part 5 to conclude Deuteronomy, and then we'll get into Psalms, Isaiah, and maybe Joel. Be right back. Listening to the corner.